Yes, indeed, and I'm joined here by a local hero, the broadcaster Terry Christian, who works for MUTV, amongst others, is making a documentary about another local hero. Terry, obviously we just got the first editions now. Start with the Telegraph. They've got a marginal poll, and the point here is these are seats held by Labour and the Liberal Democrats at the last election, but in percentages, the Tories have overtaken them. So it's all over, is it?
That's a big surprise for the Daily Telegraph, isn't it? I'm surprised you've not said that. It's
that people bend the polls.
I think there's a certain bias one way or the other. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me at the moment because the way things are with both parties, there's a lot of doubt there. I think people are getting a bit sick of the Labour Party just generally because it's kind of been like the way it's run, like a cross between Stalinism and aromatherapy for the last few years. But then with Cameron, you think, well, what's the alternative? It's almost like, what do you want? That guy's hacking cough or that guy's bad skin disease.
Yeah, I mean, you say, though, the Telegraph would report that, but you might not expect the Telegraph to put that on their front pages. A letter from 34 financial experts, economists, actually backing Labour's policy of not cutting too soon to stop the recovery.
Well, the danger is that we'll slump into the kind of recession that happened around 1980, 81. If Cameron comes in, puts all his cuts in, and that is the big fear, certainly in cities like Manchester, that suffered greatly from Thatcher's economic policies, where she just wiped out manufacturing industry overnight. You could almost see the tumbleweeds around here within a year of Thatcher coming into power.
Now, Manchester, of course, got a very venerable television history with Granada TV, amongst others, BBC building a new headquarters. We're all very excited to be coming to Manchester. Is Manchester excited about the debate caravan coming to town?
Well, yes. I think there are, Labour have had their conference here. The Tories have had a conference here. We love having conferences. We love our bars and pubs full. The debate coming to town, there's a lot of fuss over the debate at the moment, isn't there? Because Cameron doesn't like the rules.
Yeah, we're a bit puzzled by this because it was the parties who asked for the rules.
Well, he wants the old Eton Debating Society where you can say boo, hiss, and all that. So, of course, there's not going to be any of that, is there?
Well, I don't know. I think we're British, we're not Americans, and I think audiences probably have a little bit more of a will of their own. But the Independent newspaper, 90 minutes that could change Britain, and they've done a poll, and they say that 65% of the adult population say they'll watch all three debates. Now, that is about 30 million people. That's roughly equivalent to the number of people who actually voted last time round.
Well, that's a lot. I wonder how many of them are still watching after the first 5 minutes, though, when they think, none of them really answer any questions. I find it a bit sad that people are going to kind of decide which way they vote on a televised debate at the end of the day.
Even if it's 90 minutes, they don't often concentrate on politics.
But that's frightening, isn't it?
Yeah.
Certainly not the way I grew up or the kind of atmosphere I grew up in. People were always very aware of politics and the fact that politics is what tied your life to economics.
But you are a savvy media operator. Do you actually think these debates could, as the Independent is saying, could change Britain?
Unfortunately, yes. Ooh, I don't like his shirt. I'm not voting for him.
Yes.
That's the scary thing about democracy sometimes.
And as a television performer, what would your advice be?
It's more to people like yourself, Adam. Make them answer the question. Make them squirm.
Yeah,
Get in there.
Answer the question does seem to be the number one piece of advice. Let's hope they're listening, because they are all
trained not to.
Well, they are all preparing for these debates. Now, the Financial Times has been looking at all the party manifestos and has come up with the view that basically there's a huge hole in the pledges, which we've heard from all three of the parties. Does that surprise you?
well, not at all, because people haven't got the money to spend at the moment. So it's one of those like, I'll pay you when you get in. You get in, then we'll sort you out. Get the economy back, and we'll get the money. Obviously, you've got to feel sorry for the Lib Dems there, because there's absolutely nothing coming into them.
I just wonder about this, because it seems to me when I go about the country, I talk to people a lot, and they do realise that the sums don't add up at the moment. That we've been living ahead of our means, particularly now the economy's shrunk. And yet, any politician who tries to say that appears to immediately go behind in the opinion polls. I mean, are we all sort of a bit, no, I'm not listening, you know, I want to carry on, do you think?
I think that's the nature of modern politics now, you know, so it's that kind of feel-good factor. I mean, obviously, you know, we've had it rough, but then they had it rough in Europe, but they all seem to be recovering. So you've got to think, well, what is it that we haven't done that they have done? And what they've done in many ways is they've protected their jobs. You know, in terms of, you know, multinational corporations, you know, General Motors want to sack workers. Much more expensive to sack workers in Germany and France than it is in England, because we're still a bit higher and fire in that way.
But do you think we are a bit afraid of facing up to the consequences, as you say, because of what happened in the deindustrialisation in places like Manchester?
Well, yeah, we're a service industry country. You know, I mean, you look at the dumbing down in our schools. That's because we make better waiters when we haven't read the full works of Dickens. Yeah. And we've only got a kind of GCSE.
And you're an old boy of St Bede's round here.
Yeah, from the old days when you could pass your 11 plus. Nothing from Cameron about that one, is there?
Are you a grammar school fan? You like to see them come back?
Well, yeah, only insofar as where I grew up in Brooks Bar, which is where Old Trafford borders Moss Side and Hume. That was almost like an escape for you. You know, there was a bit of social mobility only because of that. Yeah. You know, the whole. There's always been a bit of a myth about social mobility. I mean, it's certainly
true there was more social mobility, but the argument always was there were more people left behind who got absolutely nowhere.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But now it's like everybody's getting left behind. You know, we've got an underclass now, and I can't remember, you know, a well-defined and entrenched underclass in this country, and I don't think there's ever been a general election where we've had that before.
Terry, thank you very much indeed. I'm looking forward to you coming back again for our full press review as the first editions come out on the Boulton.
It's quite strange, Manchester, in that way, in that it's very forward-thinking, the council. You know, the way that they get on board, they push for things, they fight the corner. We fight as a European city, because to do it as a British city, all you've got to do is like doff your cap to London and you'll get nothing.
Now, you've been doing also, Marie, ahead of what you're calling the ultimate screen test, this historic debate here in Manchester. You've been looking at whether it's going to have much impact on the election. And what have you concluded?
Well, we found out that 42.7% of the people that we polled say that it will affect how they will vote. So, I mean, the Independent called it 90 minutes that might change the election. I think it might be. I mean, I know there's another 2 to go, but as a first one.
You think that?
Well, I think it's who did they talk to? Well, they weren't stopping students, were they, down Deansgate?
It's a representative sample, isn't it, Maria? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I shouldn't criticise, because that representative sample, 65% of them wanted me as the mayor of Manchester. That's how bright they are.
Now, Marie, you, however, picked up on the various bits of argy-bargy that have been going on about the rules and whether there should be boos and cheers in the TV debate. I mean, we'll have to see, won't we, what happens tomorrow.
But I'm actually going to that tomorrow night, and I only realised when I read that you're not allowed to make a sound. I mean, it's going to be quite...
Well, you're not going to get shot if you do, you know.
Yeah, so well, I think that may...
Sky aren't going to shoot you, I don't know about ITV.
It depends who's patrolling it, I suppose. But I think it was David Cameron said it could be sluggish, and I think he might be right, actually. I think they might need a few whoops and cheers.
Well, I would say that, you know, ITV and Alistair Stewart know what they're doing. I think they will put on a good show, but... also on the Telegraph, big lead for the Tories in 100 key seats. I mean, that's what you need, isn't it, Terry, for David Cameron going into it?
I think the Daily Telegraph are going to be bound to say something like that anyway. And it wouldn't surprise me, you know, people like a change every now and then. The worrying thing is the state of the economy. And then really, you know, everybody talks about the sort of Thatcher, what a marvellous job she did. There was a lot of spin involved in that and an awful lot of pain and heartache for people. We do not want riots on our street again like we had in the summer of 1981.
Now, there's one Fleet Street or London national paper that is basically turning its back a bit on the election and not putting it on the front page. That is the Daily Mail. Today they've got a tale of 2 payouts. A single mother soldier who couldn't sort out childcare demands and is seeking 1.1 million, while they're pointing out that a hero who lost his legs got 7 times less than 1.1 million. You picked this one, Terry.
Well, actually he didn't. He ended up getting 567,000. So his initial offer was 50, then he got up to 150, and then he appealed and got $500,000.
So it's a bit of a hype.
And then also what she was claiming was unfair dismissal or something like that, you know, sex discrimination. They could have paid her off for 60,000 or something. I think is it up to 55 or 60,000. So obviously what they've done is they're the ones who've bothered going to court and fighting it. So it's their fault. It's ended up costing 1.1 million.
Maria,
that's the way the law works.